Welcome to the Fellowship of the Script, the podcast where we dive deep into the craft struggles and stories of filmmaking. I'm your host, Derek J. Bowder.
And I'm your other host, Ben Escobar.
Whether you're just starting out or you've been in the industry for years, this is the place for real talk about the art and business of film.
So today we're going to be talking about how to budget a film. Very exciting topic.
Yeah, because if your budget doesn't support your plan, the movie never gets the chance to succeed. At least if you take it seriously, but your budget is pretty crucial to executing that plan without running into financial difficulties.
That's right. Yeah. So before we get into it, quick reminder, please follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple so you don't miss future episodes. Feel free to leave comments, rate it. All that shit counts for us. So please help us out.
Yeah. And before we dive in, just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who supported Around Midnight. The Indiegogo campaign was a huge success, and together we raised $35,753.41. Pretty insane number. It's literally like half our shooting budget. So thank you guys. You literally made the film possible.
It's amazing. I want to know who was donating cents. Did you how the hell was that
That's
not an
after
even
tax.
number?
Like
Okay,
some taxes get taken out. Yeah.
It's like some people don't
Uncle
know
Sam
like a penny.
he needs his gat.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Anyways,
so cool.
yeah,
congrats. That's
thank you.
so amazing. 10,000, over 10,000 more than what you asked. That's so sick.
Pretty awesome. And now we get to go deliver on our promise. So if anybody's waiting on backer rewards, I am compiling the email lists, making sure that, there's people who got multiple things. But this week you should receive emails about the rewards you got and when to expect them. But let's talk about why budgeting is a pre-production issue.
Yeah. So a lot of filmmakers treat budgeting like it's paperwork, and it is, but it also isn't. It is sort of a mindset, if anything else, and we can kind of get more into that later. But you gotta just you gotta be
Take it
very
seriously.
Yeah, you gotta take it seriously. It's a boundary, literally and figuratively, in all happy and sad and mature senses of the word. So
Yeah, your budget is essentially the foundation or blueprint for your entire film. Even before you start writing, you should be thinking about the budget you're going to have access to for this film. Unless your goal is literally just to sell a script, but even then, you should be thinking about the kind of budget the people who might buy your script are going to have. So, you should always be thinking about budget.
that's right. It tells what movie you're actually making, meaning, is this a seriously big movie? Is this a high octane movie? It's also a determination of what you think the movie is going to make back. So if you're writing $100 million movie, you're kind of going out in a whim and saying, yo, I think this is going to make 300 million or $500,000 or more, because that's the kind of return you would need.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If not like billions, because it's not just about making the budget back. It's making the budget back and then some, because there's a lot of sunk costs, there's marketing stuff and everything. But even forget that size, it tells what kind of movie you're making, like within your independent capacity on a short budget. Because if you're like making a short film that has all these crazy elements to it, like blood and gore, or like stunts, or visual
All
effects,
adds up.
yeah, it kind of tells you the quality of all that and the quality of your team that you're hiring. So
Yeah, I mean, what we're talking about in this video, I would say it mainly applies to people who are planning to execute their own films. But we're talking about short films, proof of concepts, feature films. Even if you're just like, hey, I want to get into directing, and I know somebody who, they want me to shoot their music video. This is their budget. You should probably plan for that budget and not overshoot expectations or be too ambitious. Be realistic. Pre-production budgeting is about aligning your ambition with reality before people show up on set and you realize I don't have the budget for these people, and crafty and all that stuff. That all needs to be figured out before you show up to shoot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the earlier you face those limits, the fewer emergencies you'll have later. And it's also like how you're using the budget. It's nice to know like, oh, we have $30,000, but like how you're using it, you got to be very tactical. It's like chess, paying how many PAs are you allocating money per day for? Are you just doing one PA, or are you saying we don't need PAs because I'll just handle all the busy work myself? Like the idea of an assistant, I talked about this on another episode, but like having a runner on a set. I mean, you've had PA runners as well, where it's like someone that could like leave the set, go to fucking Target, get AA batteries because your sound guy got, fake AA batteries from 99-cent store or something.
Hopefully your
There's
sound guy's better than that, but hey,
yeah.
things
That's a
happen.
yeah. But you got to go to Target, you got to go pick up whatever the hell you need, and you can't do that. And your
Yeah,
producer can't do that.
is the director gonna just leave? It's not gonna
Yeah,
happen. I mean, that'd
exactly.
be pretty bad, but
Yeah, I mean, I've been in those situations where you delay the whole set, or like somebody else has got to do that. So,
but
um,
essentially, this episode serves as a high level overview of how to budget a film, and there are several phases to this that we're going to talk about. Like first, we're going to talk about the script. But we can dive deeper into each one of these if people have questions. We could address those in future episodes. But yeah, let's talk about the script and why this is when you should first be thinking about the budget.
yeah. So this is like your first budget pass, really. And again, are you writing to create this yourself? Are you writing to shoot, or are you writing to sell? If you're writing to shoot, obviously every script starts with a budget. But also that goes for writing to sell too. But for the sake of starting to shoot, which I think most of you guys would be interested in, uh, you got to just think about your choices and what you're putting in. If you're about to put blood splatters everywhere across the floor, that's a dollar amount. You got to be very
Fake blood
tactical.
costs money.
Yeah.
It
Oh
all
yeah.
costs money. And you should be thinking about kind of when you sit down and you're breaking down your script, whether you're either deciding how long to make it, or you've already written the script and now you need to figure out what budget you need to execute it to your standards. Then every page should have a cost attached to it, whether you realize it or not. Every page is money that you need to have allocated in order to film that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like locations, cast size, night shoots, effects, stunts. Yeah, writing a night scene, interior, exterior makes a
You need
huge
lights.
difference.
You need
You
lights
need
if you're going to
lights,
shoot at night.
and you need heaters if you're fucking shooting in a certain spot too. If
Oh,
you're really like,
yeah.
it's tough, man. So always be thinking about that.
Yeah, pre-production is where you decide if the script matches your current resources, and that is something that I think every filmmaker is going to face in one way or another. So, I think this is really important to break down.
Yeah, and don't think about it as making it smaller. Think about it as making it smarter and a challenge. Like you can do the exterior nighttime scene with the blood splattering on the floor, cheaply and effectively, and with good use of time. You just got to know how to do that. So do your research and stuff.
But sometimes you are going to have to rewrite stuff to make it fit your current budget. Often, a rewrite that removes a location can save you thousands. So don't feel like you need to die on every hill. You should definitely pick your battles. And I'm somebody who would much rather, if I can't justify including a certain scene in a film, then just write it out or exclude it somehow. And then if that scene, and I can't remember who it was I heard say this, but if that scene is really that special and important, you'll find a way to incorporate it into another script. It will come back up because it's an idea that you just have to use for something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough to say like what kind of script you're gonna write depending on like how rich you are and stuff like that. But it's not necessarily about being rich. Again, it's about being smart. So like if you're rewriting because you didn't think very smartly. Like your budgeting failed earlier. But um, beyond that, you mentioned cutting a location can save you thousands. That's a really great point. So that is one of the fastest ways a budget can balloon, but it's also one of the biggest opportunities, I would say, to make a tactical shortcut, um, and get what you wanted still.
Yeah, you got to think of every location and its necessities to use it. For example, if you want to shoot on a public street downtown, you got to get a permit for that. And every location that you shoot at, if you're shooting at multiple locations in one day, that means company moves. And company moves are when the whole cast and crew moves to a new location, and that's time. So you want to limit company moves if you have a really small budget, because time is literally money, and the less company moves you do, the more time can be spent actually shooting. But think of every location. What does it need? Company moves, permits, the time that it takes to set up at a specific location? Maybe you're shooting outside.
Yeah.
It's all money.
Yeah. And a good question to ask in pre-production is like, how many scenes justified this location? You know, can you maybe sneak another scene later on? Like we did that on Pollo Loco. Like I think
Yeah,
we mentioned where it's
you
like the
can
same
you can
house.
double up on you can double up on you can double scenes up at the same location, but just move to a different spot, and nobody's going to know that you were shooting at the same place you were for another scene. It's all about what you put on camera and how
Yep.
you control it.
Yeah.
How can sound be managed? That's one thing that you want to look into whenever you're exploring a location, because if you're shooting next to a busy street, probably going to have a harder time in sound design fixing up that sound than if you would film that somewhere with less noise. That's one that a lot of people underestimate.
Yeah, I agree. And also like, yeah, how many people do you need to bring on this location is a thing where it's like, if it's an indie location, it's going to be flexible and it's going to be cooperative and hopefully efficient. But let's say you're going into an abandoned house, um, which I've done that, so I'm not saying don't do that. Even though it is risky. Let's say you're going to an abandoned house, just like pick off one shot or like an establishing or whatever the hell you got to grab. Like, don't bring your whole crew there. If anything, if you could shoot it by yourself and you're efficient enough with your camera, you should just go by yourself or with a friend to make sure you're safe and get the hell out of there. Don't make a whole, like, we got to call the owner of this abandoned house and do a whole permit. Like, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, be smart. Budgeting often means choosing a location that works, not the one that's perfect, because that's what you envisioned in your head. You're going to have to compromise on every film that you work on, and I think that is something that when you first start out is kind of a tough pill to swallow. But once you embrace that, it'll make you a better storyteller, because you're going to make changes and adapt the script to your location. And because it's a real world location that you can see, touch, feel, all that stuff, it's going to be specific, and specificity usually leads to deeper storytelling. There's things that will feel intentional, even though you may have had to make that decision on the fly because you showed up and the location doesn't work exactly how you thought it would. That happens a lot more than people realize.
It's a new thing every time. You learn something new about your experience every time. But aside from that, let's talk cast and crew, and kind of, we've talked a lot about like ethics and like, why it's good to like pay people their rate and why rates are so high, and how it's important. Like the way you're budgeting for this on set is sort of managing the morale of the crew. I mean, this kind of goes for any project at all in life, but especially movie sets, especially as jobs become, more scarce as well. Um, yeah, cast and crew decisions it's where budgeting becomes ethical, and always try to think ethically when you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're setting aside budget for your cast and crew, you're literally valuing people's time and labor. So be respectful, be fair, and remember that you're paying for reliability. You're not just paying for warm bodies to, hold a boom just to do the job. You're literally picking the people that you're going to work with who at the end of the day are going to dictate how your film turns out. So if you want good work, you should probably pay them well.
Agreed. And if you can't pay a lot of people that well, then just do a smaller team. Because at the end of the day, obviously, a smaller team costs less and it'll move faster. And it's a quality over quantity play. Um, I would also say, like, letting someone who's a head of their own department have a limited amount of choice in who they want to have helping them, but not eliminating a choice. So, for example, if a DP says, I need this, I need two ACs, or I need one assistant camera, and this is the guy I go to every time, and this is his rate. Um, you getting to help out the DP in choosing that a person that they want to work with, but then also helping that DP's friend creates good morale between the DP and the friend, you and the DP, and then that person's friend, the DP's friend, is going to look to you as the director or the producer, and be like, hey, thanks for bringing me on, and thanks for like paying my rate and hooking it up. And this kindness will trickle down. And it's
It's how
always
you grow
remember
your
that.
network,
Yeah,
your
exactly.
filmmaking family. Yeah.
And often with
But
these ACs, they're not just ACs. Like they're good DPs as well. They switch
yeah,
roles for
yeah.
each other.
Or for example, like the first AC that we're using for Around Midnight is also a Steadicam operator. So she's, a lot of the crew members on Around Midnight are filling multiple roles, which is
Hell
super
yeah.
common in indie filmmaking. But you always want to make sure that the people that you're hiring are comfortable doing the task that you assign them. You never want to give somebody a task just because you need somebody to do it and they have no experience, because then somebody's also inexperienced in that and having to learn. Unless this is the type of project or set where you're comfortable with that. Short films are definitely the better place to do that. Otherwise, make sure they can do the job. But pre-production is where you lock people early and avoid last minute costs, because I'm sure Ben, you've experienced this too. When you're trying to find somebody last minute, maybe somebody got injured. Like I'll tell you about this later, Ben, but we just had to change DPs because our DP got injured. And so,
Holy shit.
yeah, it's a big thing. But, you know, last minute changes are often more costly because you don't really have a choice. You either make the film or you don't. And to get people last minute, you might have to pay a little extra. Every situation is different, but the sooner you lock people in, usually the less crazy panic you're going to have towards the end there. And this is something that what I'm talking about with this DP. I mean, this happened like a month before we are about to shoot, so we have enough time to figure that out, and we already got a solution. But if that was something that maybe I hadn't, let's say I didn't even hire a DP yet, last minute to bring on a DP, and they have to like play catch up and do all this work and figure out what the hell they're doing and pick the gear and a laundry list of things, they're probably going to want more money. So tell people in advance enough, or else you're probably going to pay the price.
Yeah. Um, damn, dude, I'm sorry to hear that, but I hope you got a
It
good.
luckily our situation, it works out. Like we're
Okay,
yeah, no
cool.
no issue at all. I thought we were going to have to delay, but then they offered a solution, and I said, you know what? I think we're going to be okay.
Okay,
Or
cool.
we are
That's
going to
good.
be okay.
That's great.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, unconfirmed people, that means like an unstable schedule usually. Um,
yeah.
so just make sure you lock that in as fast as you can. And obviously the toughest schedule to lock is usually the talent.
Yeah, but I mean, your budget and the way that you approach people and being transparent about what you have, what you can pay, it definitely sets a level of professionalism. You don't want people to feel like they're being taken advantage of or exploited because you're trying to save money. Just be honest. People are way more willing to negotiate when you're honest about what you can and can't do than if you just, I don't know, lie to them about don't make them think you have more money than you do. Like people aren't going to be happy if you spend all this time planning and talking, and then you go, oh, and by the way, I don't have very much money. This is what I have. Just tell them up front. People really do appreciate when you're honest.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of the schedule, that basically just schedule is your budget and money being burnt. So like we've talked about this before where it's like any like extra day you add that is a full day rate or any half day. Any time is money on this whole thing. Which makes your schedule one of the most important budget documents of this whole thing. Um, the difference between a 3-day short film or a 4-day short film is, I
The
would say,
$10,000.
yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. And it's like, what? How the fuck? But yeah, no, it is what it is. Every
Yeah.
day counts. Every
Yeah.
half day counts.
Every extra day costs food, rentals, locations, and pay. So you got to
Yes.
think about, do you want to have more shoot days but a smaller crew, or less shoot days and a bigger crew? These are things that you need to decide in pre-production before you start approaching people, because it's going to be really weird if you go to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm ready to make this film, but I can't afford sound guy. I didn't think about that." Think about that ahead of time. You can't make a film without the essential crew. You need, just before we move forward, because we did just talk about cast and crew. You need a DP at the very least. You need somebody to shoot the film. Maybe that's you as the director too. Some people do that. Soderbergh likes to do that. You need a sound person, right? And then you need actors. That's the very minimum. Someone's got to be on camera, unless you're making a film about nothing, which I don't think many people are going to want to watch. So those are your bare essentials. You need
An
something for,
object. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Um, there's stop motion,
Yeah, you can make a thing. There's your an
claymation.
animal.
I don't
Yeah,
know. There's all kinds of stuff,
shooting
but
time lapses. I don't know.
yeah. But most films are going to require at least those bare minimum things. You need the director, uh, the DP, the sound person, and the talent.
Yeah.
So
And often if it feels impossible, like if it looks impossible on paper to achieve, like how the hell are we going to do this with no DP or no whatever the hell or this amount of time? It's just going to be impossible on set because time is just you forget how fast time moves and how slow things move when you're on set. Like even when you think you're going to move like super super fast, it's like a shot as simple as like a wide where it's just we're just going to put the camera on the tripod and set it up from afar. We're just going to sit there and nothing happens on camera. It's just a wide shot. Like the process of like
yeah,
screwing in the damn shoe on the tripod and the camera and then placing it on there and adjusting and all that, like you will see that and realize, oh my God, this is eating
so,
this
something
alive.
that might take 30 seconds to pull out your phone and film probably takes 10-15 minutes if you're just doing like one wide shot or something at the very
Yeah.
least, man. Like
Yeah.
it's that's why when you're in pre-production, that is the best time to rebalance your pages, trim setups, protect the crew's energy.
Yep.
Don't like one of the things that I was working on this past week was my schedule and like what days we're shooting what scenes, what talent we need. I had one cast member who was only, it has to take work off, so we're trying to use them for the least amount of days possible. And so I'm building the schedule around that. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, I need to figure out how to balance these page counts, because we don't want one day to be 8.5 pages and another day to be 3.5. That's weird. You should definitely try to balance those out so every day feels like you're getting, 4 to 6 pages is kind of like the sweet spot on an indie film. But
Yeah.
I have seen people do crazy page counts, like 8 to 12 pages, but the films usually end up pretty rough. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. That's a
So
tough one.
be realistic, and pre-production's the time to figure that stuff out, because you don't want to be on set looking at your schedule going, yeah, yeah, yesterday we did 3.5 and today we're doing almost 9. That's probably should have balanced that out better in pre-production.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
But if you're
so don't,
listening to this podcast, obviously we're you're learning not to do that on set. Do it in free.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, don't overload your days. Try to avoid overtime. And that way you'll avoid mistakes and burnout. Because burnout is a huge, huge element to it, especially when like you're like sending that next day's call sheet last second and you're just revealing like, yo, it's a 6 a.m., not a 10 a.m. or not an 8 a.m. and you're just like,
Everybody's like,
what?
oh, like, they look
It's a
at
sunrise
that.
shoot tomorrow. Oh fuck. Oh
I
why?
gotta go to bed.
Yeah. And people just show up like so
Zombies.
unhappy looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're there and you're like low key fighting through it too, but you can't break. You cannot look like you're having a bad
Yeah.
time.
If you're gonna put your crew through a crazy schedule like that, you better pay them well. Better pay them well. But yeah, a realistic schedule protects both the budget and the morale. So don't 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 cut yourself short. Don't don't overlook it. Please
Okay.
do not be the person who shows up and you don't have a realistic schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, mid episode break here. Just a quick break. Want to say subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube.
Yes. And make sure to follow us on social media. My socials are at Real Ben Escobar for my personal account, or at Genie Boy Games, which is going to be the Instagram for my game studio, which I'm going to push soon and very
Hell
soon.
yeah. And I go by
Yeah.
at Danny Dorito 23 or at Derek J. Bowder everywhere. You can also join our Discord if you want to talk about filmmaking and connect with other creators or people who just love movies.
We also have a Patreon. Sorry, I'm like drinking this G Fuel with ice out here, which we'll get to. We also have Patreon. Starts at $1. It has hangouts and bonus content.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we actually just revamped the Patreon. So if you are a patron, definitely double check to see how those memberships have changed. We've added executive producer, and we do just US only giveaway G Fuel tubs now. So we've kind of shifted some things around. I swapped $1 and $3 tiers. So now for $1, you get to ask a question every month, which I think is really cool. And then for $3, you get to hang out every month, which is like one on one. Like it's like literally being in a video call, like Ben and I are right now with each other, but we're hanging out, it's like shooting the shit about movies. So
Yeah.
come join us. And
No, you say it.
and use GPL code Danny D for 30% off. There's always new flavors dropping. I just tried Thick Slice, which is pumpkin pie, and that was
Nice.
really good in milk, dude. It's like the first 2.0 milk flavor.
Wow.
So yeah,
I
you
was
could
going to
taste the
ask if it was
crust and
still
everything.
30 off because I got to get more Snake Eater. I'd be drinking that shit every day,
Yeah,
twice a day.
I think it is still 30% off, and Thick Slice is still available. If you like pumpkin pie, I'd seriously recommend that one. I don't like pumpkin pie, and I thought that shit was fire. So that's
I'm going to get
definitely
that
saying something.
Sharingan one as well, the Naruto one.
Ah, yeah, that one's good, man. That one's good. I did drink some Snake Eater after we talked last podcast, and that one is really good too. They make good tea flavors, man. I'm really excited to try Tea Bagger, which is like an Arnold Palmer. So
Interesting.
yeah.
How often, like how many G Fuels like tubs do you think you drink a day? Because I've been starting to have like multiple. And I just don't know if that's normal.
I mean, I drink like 2 servings a day usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I'm about 2, sometimes 3.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't recommend more than 3.
cool.
It's a lot of caffeine. You're gonna burn out your receptors. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely addicted to the point where if I don't have enough caffeine by late enough in the day, I get a headache. So I've definitely got a dependency. But hey, man, feel your filmmaking sessions. That's literally, I call it goal fuel because
Goal fuel.
Yeah, it fuels my goals, man. I'm not really a gamer anymore, but
I like that a lot. Goal fuel.
yeah, the G can stand for whatever you want, man.
Yeah, that's really cool. That is
Anyways,
really cool.
let's talk about gear. It's a big one.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways around this. So this is where a lot of budgets can go sideways if you're not careful. And, you know, it all kind of blends in with your hiring. So if you're someone who just owns camera gear and you're insistent on using your gear and that's a huge shortcut for the budget, great. Depending on where you're at in your career, if you're like in film school and stuff, I recommend doing that. Borrowing cameras from friends and favors and stuff like that can go a long way. But those kind of like favors will sort of go, they extend pretty far, because there are some people in certain film schools that like just happen to own a fucking crazy red or like an RE35, and it's just
Ari, that's
because,
crazy. I
yeah, but
I know people though who are just like, yeah, dude, I got this camera if you want to use it. I'm like, holy
yeah, it's
shit,
like, what the
you
fuck,
could have
where did
made a
you get
movie,
that?
though.
It's
Uh,
like, it's like, hey, I own this $100,000 car, because it's $100,000. It's insane. And it's like, where in the fuck did you get that? But the way they're making their money back is renting it out and stuff. And
yeah,
some people who, if you can find them, they're great, have paid it off and are just like, passively renting this out with nothing but profit. And sometimes they'll just lend it out for free. And if you can get that, that's really, really lucky. Not saying you should ask people you don't know for a free RE, but depending on who you hire, you could get a DP that can pull a few favors, and that's a huge, huge thing. So always be careful. I think there's a lot of advice we could give about, how to get the right gear you need. And
yeah, we
you
could
know,
definitely do a whole episode on gear, man. I think the biggest thing to take away is that more expensive gear doesn't equal better storytelling. I think a lot of people think they have to
uh,
rent the most expensive camera to get that cinematic look. There was a kind of a meme that was going around a couple months ago where there was a film class. I don't remember, one of the big film schools where they actually, one of the classes got to use an IMAX camera for like their thesis films, and everybody was
uh-huh.
joking around about how, you know, here they are, they got IMAX cameras, but they're still gonna feel and look like student films because it's not about the camera. It's about who's operating it. It's about the other gear that you have to support that camera. Every camera has its strengths and weaknesses. An IMAX camera might give you this crazy huge image and everything, but it takes a lot more to set up, and it's heavy, and somebody can't just like, I mean, there's Van Hoyten who's freaking shouldering that camera, which is crazy for like Oppenheimer. But I mean, it's you got to be smart about where you spend your money, and if you have the most expensive camera but you have a tiny crew and everybody's burnt out because they're having to do a bunch of jobs to support a camera that's much more difficult to work with, you're kind of approaching things backwards, if you ask me.
hmm hmm That's a really good point. It's how you use your tools. That's just, yeah, there's no other way to put it.
Lighting matters, like, I would say just
Yep.
as much as the camera you're using.
Yep. Um, yeah, there was a good quote about that and how about the experts care about the lighting and stuff, but I don't remember it. I got a C in my lighting class. I don't know. I just fucking, it's a tough one. Yeah. It's a very, very, I don't want to say nerdy thing because that sounds derogatory, but it is nerdy. It's beautiful. I think people who know lighting and love lighting and see lighting in a way that like I really envy and I really respect.
Yeah.
Uh,
Quick story, for example,
yeah.
I'll show you, Ben. We had, again, this is just another, I mean, look, we have $100,000 to make this film, which might sound like a lot to somebody who's just starting out, but we're still facing the same problems that every production does. We had our coffee shop fall through. So we had to go find a different coffee shop, and that coffee shop has a lot of windows. And so now we have to like decide how we're going to shoot that space. And so like the DP and I were talking, and he was talking about like, okay, like then we need like a really big light to balance the light. And I'm thinking, actually, I think we should embrace the fact that the lights are really like white hot, and let the inside feel kind of dark and claustrophobic, and really focus on characters and the mood. Those are decisions that you make based off the resources and equipment you have. So don't spend it all on the gear. Make sure that you have money for people and catering and all the other things. But
Also, like lensing too is
yeah,
sometimes better than your camera itself. But
yeah,
anyway, your gear should match your crew size, schedule, and locations as well. And what I mean by that is if you're going to like dicey places, if you're going with no permits, if you're doing shit that's like kind of on the fringes of the rules or whatever the hell, your choice in camera is how much attention are you calling to yourself, and also how much time are you willing to spend on set by the setup and all that. Like if you get a big fancy Ari, that's a huge amount of setup. Not only
Yeah,
it's a huge amount of setup, and it's a prep day as well. It is so much time. It is so much to deal with. It's loud. It's like if you're shooting close-ups, well, we were shooting morning, like there's a fucking fan happening right in front of your face when you're like doing this close-up. It's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway,
yeah.
um,
Simple, reliable setups often save more money than trying to go flashy or, like I said, trying to, balance the lighting inside a coffee shop when you can just kind of embrace this specific look that you're getting with the natural lighting. I mean, these are decisions that you got to make. Um, so, I mean, literally, the things we're talking about here are things that Ben and I both deal with on every production. So, yeah, for example, I had to decide with Around Midnight if I wanted to use the red Komodo X that we used for Hunters or use the Sony FX6 that the DP already owns and knows how to use. I know it's going to be a lot quicker for this camera team to use the camera that they already know how to use than to learn how to use something that would be considered maybe a little more high end or fancy, and that can be just as detrimental as spending too much money on gear. I think the comfortability with the gear is something you need to account for too.
yeah, yeah, agreed. Um, yeah, and pre-production, like I said, prep days, testing gear and planning backups is a very important thing. Making sure that everything is working, everyone knows how to do it, set up quickly and take down quickly. It's going to sound annoying where it's like, why do you need a prep day? Figure it out on the set. I'm telling you, like, even if you got to pay a little bit more extra, it's very worth it. Um, and just don't poke holes in what these DPs and people do best.
Yeah, and get it all figured out in pre-production. If you're making gear decisions on day one of the shoot, you're already behind.
Yeah. So let's talk about budgeting to finish the film. Um, so I guess, yeah, the most important question about this budget overall is, can you finish the movie?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about post-production, not just the shoot. That's something I talked about a lot with Around Midnight. Is like, hey, we need to raise this money to be able to shoot the film in March. I'm covering post production, and that's another $35,000. And I think being transparent about that is the reason why the campaign was as successful as it was. I wasn't saying, hey, because there was people who came in and said, "You're only going to shoot this with 35K," and I'm like, "No, I'm matching what we raise." And they're like, "Really?" And I go, "Yeah." And then I'm going to have to match that again for post production. Oh, well, maybe I'll help out then. They donate $5. Like that is
Wow.
you can see how having a plan before you do a crowdfunding campaign, just like we're talking about before you shoot the film, the earlier the better because it affects every decision you make and the way you're able to navigate these conversations that lead to you shooting the film. So don't forget post production.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, I think like sound, color, music, all those like deliverables, that's all got to be pristine.
Accounted for.
Because
Yeah.
like if you can't sound mix, if you can't color properly, like that, those are the kind of things that really sink a whole film, no matter how good your camera was and all that. Like you got to make sure like all that shit is working on all cylinders. So budget's really important for that. And post sound mixers are very expensive. Music, really good music people are very expensive, and really good color people are. Those are all like, you think it's like cheap and easy, but it's worth hiring experts. They're experts
Yeah.
for a reason, you know?
You don't want to cheap out on a colorist and then they just slap LUTs on everything.
Exactly.
That is something I encountered early on before I really knew how it all worked too. But I mean, I don't. I would say in probably L.A. where Ben lives, this might not this standard number that I'm about to give might not check out over there. But here in New Mexico, for example, it's about 100 a minute. So if you're shooting a 10-minute film, I would budget at least 1,000 for color, at least 1,000 for sound design, at least 1,000 for music. But you need to go into pre-production budgeting for contingencies too. So, for example, I think with Around Midnight, and this is something that I learned from Pollo Loco, something I learned with Hunters, you should probably come up with a number and then expect that to rise to about 10 to 20% of what you expect. That just seems to be what happens with every production I've worked on. They think, "Oh, we're going to shoot this for 10K." It ends up being 11 or 12K.
Yep.
Pollo Loco. "Oh, we're going to shoot this for like 25K." Ended up being about 30. Keep that in mind, because something will go wrong. Stuff always goes wrong. And if you don't have money to solve that problem, you're going to wish you did. So always budget a little extra. You never know. We're going to talk about insurance after this. Insurance usually costs more than you think. Um, it's your budget is your protection. Protect yourself with your budget. Don't spread it too thin, and plan for things to go wrong. And having a little bit of money to solve a problem is definitely going to speed up something that might require a more complicated solution otherwise. So,
Yeah, I agree. Um,
insurance,
yeah, insurance is, yeah, that's
it's a
a whole
bitch,
other thing.
man. Insurance is so annoying, but you got to have it.
Yeah. It's like one of the most least exciting budget items, but we've talked about this before where, you need insurance to have certain gear. You need insurance to have certain locations. More than anything else, I think it's really the gear because you're not going to loan out this like,
Yeah, I mean it really
multi.
is it is for your gear and your locations. Most locations won't let you shoot unless you have a certificate of insurance to prove that you're insured, because if something happens to the property and you can't pay for it, you're going to be in hot water, man. And the same thing with rental houses. They often require you to show proof of insurance before they'll even let you rent gear, because they want to know if something happens to their gear, it's going to be covered.
I would go with just something that's probably like $1,000 if you're doing like a three day shoot or something like that. It's going to be 700 to 1,000. And I know it's like you're paying like an extra crew member that's not even there. You're paying
Yeah,
for a paperwork
for
essentially,
around
but
midnight, the production insurance is going to be somewhere, because I'm getting all the location information together right now. I've been having these location owners sign location agreements and stuff, but I'm expecting it to be somewhere around $4,000 to $6,000 to ensure this production, because we're shooting for 20 days at multiple locations. So it is not cheap, man. And I can't imagine what it would be like if we were filming in LA.
yeah,
Probably double.
it's yeah, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. So pick your battles with that. Um, be smart. I mean, I'm not gonna not gonna
It can
encourage
literally
or
save your
discourage it.
production.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's gonna
use your
save your
judgment.
production, but if you're making a film with your buddies, like
If you're
obviously don't
shooting it
do
at
it.
your house,
Yeah,
that's up to you whether you want to insure it or not. But I would at least offer it if you're going to shoot at somebody's property and they're already, especially if they're already hooking you up, maybe letting you shoot there for free or a reduced rate. You know,
and a lot of
yeah,
film schools actually have insurance covered for all their student productions automatically. So it's not something you really need to worry about until you're outside of that. So for example, like you go to a film school like USC or something, and they're renting you out a big fancy schmancy camera like a Red or an Ari. That's going to be covered by the school's insurance. So you're not going to be required to like go out and buy that. They shouldn't, hold. They're going to have different rules of why you can or can't rent that camera out for like, it's reserved for the thesis projects or whatever. But like, it's it's a good opportunity in while you're in school to not think about insurance, but then you got to start remembering about it when you're in real life,
yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, they're not going to be covering
Um,
that forever.
One thing I did learn is that if you don't have the money for insurance, one thing you can do, and this is obviously every situation is different. If you're shooting a really small film, maybe 5 minutes, you might be able to convince a production company, like a local production company, who has like an annual umbrella plan, to bring them on and give them credit in exchange for letting you use their insurance. Um, but, the bigger the production, the more likely they're going to want some kind of monetary exchange there, or, something, whether it's like they want some creative control or something. You got to think about what you're giving and taking there. But insurance is a big one. professional films always plan for risk, and pre-production is where that planning happens. So don't neglect insurance. I think we beat that horse to death, and it is expensive. So plan for it.
I agree.
Final
Um,
thoughts?
I think just fucking budget the hell out of your thing in pre-production, no matter how big or small it is, and take it seriously and really, really be honest with yourself, and don't budget with money that you don't have, and let let someone who's experienced guide you through what's important and what's not. Don't ever just think less of a certain role, like a sound person. Like, oh, this sound person shouldn't be charging me 600 a day or whatever the hell. Like, it depends. If you this is your first rodeo, like, you're gonna see like the difference of a really professional sound person to a like amateur sound person, and you're gonna regret it.
Yeah, you're gonna get to sound design
Yeah,
and regret it if you don't,
yeah,
hire the right
and
person.
if you get a really good enthusiastic sound person, like, there's nothing quite like that, man. I know you feel like
Yeah,
that. Like, so the person who's so happy to hold the boom every time and like it never gets old to them. It's like, thank you for having such a good attitude, because it looks like
yeah,
their job sucks ass. And some people really make you feel like, I hate my life. I hate this. I'm holding the
yeah.
boom all day. And it's like, why are you here?
If you run
Why?
into those people, like, and try not to hire them next time if you
Yeah,
can help
yeah,
it. I mean, it's something that I think once people realize that one of the reasons why it's so hard to get a job in film is because most big filmmakers who make all these big films you see in movies all the time, or they're dropping on your streaming service, they tend to find the people that work well with them and they can trust, and they stick with them until they die. That is just how it is. I mean, I've heard so many big directors talk about that. They have their go-to people. So you should either be looking for those people for your network, or if you're somebody who's working in a specific position outside of like above the line, then you should be looking for somebody that you can trust that pays fairly. It goes both
yes,
ways.
agreed.
Um, but yeah, the clearer your plan is in pre-production, the more creative you can be on set, because you're not going to be worried about these things that you should have figured out before you stepped on set.
Yeah. You're going to solve problems early instead of, being under pressure, and just budget for morale
Yeah.
is what I would think about it as. Like, hire people's friends, let go with their recommendations, take them seriously. Um, yeah, it
Do
all
your
trickles
vetting,
down.
but
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
definitely go with who they're comfortable working with and who they're comfortable touching their gear and stuff like that. The goal isn't perfection, it's preparedness. And if you can't afford that, then maybe you need to wait a little longer and save more. There's nothing wrong with that. I know everybody wants to rush out and do their film tomorrow, but you are going to be so much happier if you take the time to save and plan accordingly.
Yeah. There's a reason why this is part of, production and not
Yeah.
just called planning or something.
Yeah.
This is made before your call in action, this whole movie. So,
All the big productions take this part seriously. So if you want to be in the big leagues, you want to take it seriously too. I think we've talked about budgeting enough. What do you think, Ben?
yeah.
I mean,
I
that
don't
I
know.
wish I had this episode when I was first trying to figure out how to budget my film.
Yeah, it's always such a unique experience, and I feel like the Discord would be a great place if like anybody's got a specific thing where it's like, yo, I got a DP that's asking for this much, and this is their work. Is this worth it?
Yeah.
I think those are really important, and like any questions like really specific like that, feel free to ask, and always happy to just give a hand of our
And
experience.
do your homework too. I have had people say, "Oh, look at my work," and then you go look up on IMDb, and they weren't the people who shot it. Like they were like one of the crew members, but they're passing it off as their own work. Definitely don't hire that person if they're trying to do that. But seriously, vet your people, especially when you're first starting out, because you're inexperienced and you're yourself looking for guidance. And so, I mean, one of the ways that people communicate when they're trying to get a job is they're trying to come off as trustworthy as they are. So definitely if something feels like a red flag, do your homework, ask around, be like, hey, it says you worked with this person on this film. I know you don't know me, but thought I'd shoot you an email and see how was it to work with them. I did that with an actor that we were thinking about spending like $50,000 on Always Ready, and so I messaged somebody that I knew who had worked with them, and not going to say names because they are somebody pretty notable. Um, and so like that gave me some peace of mind knowing, hey, like this person's going to be easy to work with if we do spend this money. You know, you don't want to be finding out when you're on set that the person you hired either isn't as qualified as they said they were, or they're more difficult to work with than you expected. Because butting heads with people on set is the worst feeling, in my opinion, because it slows down production, it makes everything awkward, and it affects the final product, man. So, what's new with us, Ben? You got one cool thing to share since the last episode?
Um, yeah, I finished a teaser trailer for my indie game that I'm working on.
Hell yeah.
From the Game Jam, the David Lynch themed one, and I have submitted it. Hopefully, getting in. I hope I get in to Day of the Devs 2026 at GDC. I love Day of the Devs. It's a little showcase for a bunch of indie games. They have great titles there every year. I'm hoping I could be one of them. If not, that's okay because I'm very happy with. Basically, they gave a week notice. They announced that their submissions, and they were like deadlines in 1 week, and it was like, what the fuck? And I
That'll
was
weed
like,
out the people who aren't serious because they'll be like, 1 week? Hell no, I ain't
yeah,
rushing to do that.
yeah. So I fucking like went pedal to the metal and like just
Hell
put
yeah,
a
man.
teaser trailer together, put the best moments, and I am really satisfied with it. And it was like, you know what? I think I'm cool putting this out publicly, regardless of whether this gets in or not. So let me get the
Nice.
branding ready, and I don't know, I'm feeling good about that.
That's
What about
awesome,
you?
dude.
Thank you.
I mean, just the Indiegogo, man. That has been like the last 72 hours. We were actually supposed to film this episode the day before, but I literally I got our script together for the episode and I texted Ben and I said, dude, I'm falling asleep at my desk. I think we should push this tomorrow if that's cool with you, because I'm just dead after this campaign. So I feel rested now. Now it's I mean, we are like 28 days away from shooting. So it's just like full steam ahead. I'm memorizing lines and getting all the freaking getting the Indiegogo rewards like out and
Wait, you're starting March
extras.
1st? You're shooting like
March
March 1st through the
2nd,
20th?
March
March 2nd?
2nd to the 27th. Yeah. I was actually gonna let you know like when to come out for the featured extra that you're doing.
Do you have that date locked in yet? Or oh fuck, I hope it's not during GDC.
When
That's
is
okay, we'll
that?
figure it. The 9th through the 8th through the
Oh,
12th.
it's the 9th that we needed you. Shit.
Fuck! Okay, we'll talk about that after. We can figure it out.
Okay. Um okay. Yeah, but anyways, thank you guys so much for supporting the Indiegogo. I seriously, I talked about it a lot in my videos recently about how before I did the campaign, I definitely felt some like imposter syndrome trying to like convince me to like just figure out another way. Like this feels like such a in the spotlight way to try and raise money for a film, But I'm glad I did because it definitely paid off and people showed up and it's just another example of, if you really put your heart into something, things will happen. But you get what you put into it. So, one thing coming up this week, um, just getting the backer rewards out and stuff, and prepping for the film. I am gonna see Iron Lung tomorrow, so excited to see, you know, um, a content creator who self financed the film, like what they were able to do. Number two at the box office, which is pretty insane, gotta say. We might talk about Iron Lung more in our next podcast episode, which is a movie news roundup. But what's one thing coming up for you, Ben?
Good question. Just honestly finishing up this game, man. The jam ends March 4th, and we're halfway through, but like we've got a tremendous amount of progress. Um, I don't know. I gotta watch Iron Lung as well. That's something I wish I had gotten a chance to do over the weekend, but I didn't. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just like nose to the grindstone right now on these projects. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to come to New Mexico when I do. So
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be awesome. But I want to wrap this up by saying thank you to our Patreon supporters who are supporting us for another month. Make sure you go check out those memberships because they have changed around a little bit. But as always, I'm Derek J. Bowder,
I'm Ben Escobar.
and this is the Fellowship of the Script. Thanks for listening. Keep creating, keep pushing, and keep telling stories that matter.
Let's go.